Hey friends, welcome back to the homestead. Yesterday I picked up these 2 wine barrels and I want to turn them into an herb garden. Last year in my garden I had my annual herbs in with my veggies, and my perennial herbs are intermixed in the landscaping all throughout my property. And what I want to do is I want to get all my herbs in one place. My annual herbs like my basil and dill that were planted in with my veggies, they didn't thrive that well, and I think because they were being shaded out. And then my perennial herbs like my sage, my chives, my oregano, and things like that, I didn't harvest a ton of them because they're all intermixed in my property, and there wasn't just one place I could go to harvest them. They're beautiful because they are in my landscaping, so I have some edible landscaping, but I want to get those in one place so that it's easier for me to harvest and preserve so that I use them. These wine barrels are so beautiful. They have the vineyard names on them, and I'm gonna Google the vineyards that these wine barrels came from. It's pretty cool. They have actually the crystals from the wine in them, and they smell so good. The lady at Lowe's was so cute. She said that they have to water these in the summer because they don't want the wood to dry out. When they water them, red wine kind of seeps out of them and they smell like vinegar and they smell really good. What we need to do to turn this wine barrel into a planter box is we need to drill some holes in it to allow drainage, because if we don't, then when it rains and stuff, the water will just sit in the bottom of it and it can cause some issues with our roots. I've got a drill bit on here. Now my husband wanted me to mention to you that this is a metal drill bit. You don't need to use a metal drill bit, but he actually at work has the wood ones, and it's supposed to rain tomorrow and it's beautiful, so I want to get this done today. So I can't wait for him to come home. So we're doing it now because it's like 70 degrees out here right now. I definitely don't need this sweater. I probably will be changing the sweater before this video is done. But I have my sandals on. This is my first time wearing sandals out into the garden, which is pretty exciting. Today is April 9th, I believe. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I've never drilled anything before, so let's see how this goes. So this clearly is not working. I am about to burn a hole through this instead of drill a hole through this. So I'm gonna run to Lowe's and I'm gonna go grab myself a wood drill bit so we can get some drainage holes in these wine barrels. We're back with the right bit. I actually didn't have to go to Lowe's to get it. I actually just ran to my husband's work. Well, the ends are different. So my husband just works like 5 minutes away, and he actually had this bit at work. So now that I have the right drill bit, I have to find the correct drill that this fits in. This is a hex and this is round. So let me go, I know I have another drill somewhere, so let me go find my other drill. All right, so the saga continues. I cannot find a drill end that fits this piece, but I found these 2, and the ends are kind of dull, but I'm gonna try to see if they work because they at least fit into the drill. So I have 2 different sizes here. So let's give this a try. So this is working better already. Now herbs are one of the best bang for your buck things you can grow in your garden. To buy a fresh thing of rosemary or thyme or sage in one of those clamshell containers at the grocery store, at my grocery store at least, it's $2.99, and you get maybe 1 sprig or 2 sprigs of sage or 2 sprigs of rosemary. At my last house, I really couldn't grow much of anything. I lived in suburbia. We had a teeny tiny yard, and it was very hard to grow anything substantial because we got hardly any sun. But the herbs grew fantastic. I grew sage and mint and rosemary and thyme. I struggled a little bit with parsley and basil, but the rest of them grew absolutely fantastic. If you guys don't have a big garden like I do, this is only my 2nd year on this property gardening at any sort of scale. So if you don't have the space to have a big garden, but you have the space for a little pot, go get yourself some herb starts at the box store or even your grocery store. Get yourself a little bit of soil and grow a little herb garden. And most herbs are perennial, so you don't even have to plant them every year. Putting fresh herbs in your food, quite honestly, are the best thing you can do to make yourself feel like a really fancy cook and really elevate the flavor of anything you're cooking. All right, so we got the holes in there. So now I have to decide where I want to put them because these are going to be really heavy once they're filled. So I kind of need to know where I want them for the season at least. All right, so I'm happy with that spot there. I want to make sure I leave 3 feet between the herb pot and my tomatoes so that I can get my tractor, my lawnmower, through here and wheelbarrows through here. I want to make sure that's easily accessible. So I just picked up some potting soil plus fertilizer. This is supposed to be light and fluffy for pots. When I was watching YouTube videos on how to make an herb garden in a pot, they definitely stress that you want to make sure you use potting soil because you need good drainage. This has fertilizer built in, but I probably will eventually add more. I have some other little pots that I want to plant out some flowers, some terracotta pots I got at Goodwill. Let's go ahead and harvest some herbs that we have around the homestead to plant in here. So I just ran inside and I got this is some strawberry mint that I started from seed back in January. And then these are my 2 Goodwill terracotta pots. They're Italian. Got them for like $2 at Goodwill. So we're gonna put the mint in these, I think. And then if you look right over here, these 2 big piles are chives. So I just have this paper bag that I'm going to use to transplant them in. I'm not going to take all of it. I'm going to leave some of it because it just keeps expanding, but I'm going to take the majority of it. Now over here, I have a ton of creeping thyme. I have to figure out where I can dig some out from. I have so much. I'm not taking it all from here. And then this beautiful patch right here is some oregano. I'm going to take some of that. I have 2 sage plants here. This is a purple sage and this is just a traditional sage, I think. I want to buy a pineapple sage this year because I want to make tea out of it. I bought these last year as little bitty starts and they've grown a ton. But I just need to get them somewhere where I'll use them because I didn't use any of this last year. I'm trying to get as much of the root system as I can. Now I have one more sage plant over here that is pretty big that I didn't plant. This is from the previous owner, but it's done terribly because as you can see, I walk into the shade. I want to get this poor sad looking sage plant out of here so it can thrive better. All right, we are back with all of our goodies. I'm gonna get these 2 pots filled too. And then I remembered that I also have some parsley that I need to transplant that I have in the beds in a few spots. That is not working. All right, let's go get that parsley. So I have, I don't know, I planted a bunch of parsley and they did really well over here last year. Oh, not this one. But it looks like they're not all coming back. So there might actually be a few more than I thought. So I for sure have 1, 2, that is green, 3, maybe 4, 5. This whole row was parsley plants, but it doesn't look like they all made it. So let's go ahead and get these dug up. So do you see what I mean? I don't want a bunch of my herbs in along with, because this had, what did this have in it? I can't remember. If you want to know what it had in it, you can watch my very first YouTube video, which was my garden tour video of my very first garden, which was last year. And wow, these roots, whoa, these roots go deep. I'm gonna try to get as many of these roots as I can. So I just want my herbs in one spot. I will keep those herbs. Oh, one of my chickens is coming over here. I will keep, look at these roots. That is super impressive. I will keep the herbs that are in the landscaping, but the rest of the herbs I want in their specific spot. Those are pretty impressive roots. These are impressive roots. Who knew that parsley roots were so intense? That's crazy. I'm gonna give that grub to the chickens. Gross little grub. That's it for over here. Now let's go get the last one. These are Italian flatleaf parsley, and then over here I have a curly parsley. This curly leaf parsley I got for $1 at our local grocery store because it was looking real sad, and it came back really nice. Now it looks like there's actually a bunch of plants. Look at that. 1, 2, wow, 3, 4. Oh, that worm scared the crap out of me. Right there. Go back in there. Bury it back up. 5, 6, 7. I think that's 1. 8. There we go. All right. Awesome. So what I'm thinking is I'm going to put my strawberry mint in these 2 containers. I don't want my mint in here because it will just take over everything. I don't remember where I saw it, but I just saw someone was talking about strawberry mint. I don't know if it was online or where it was, but as soon as I heard that, I thought to myself, strawberry mint mojito, anyone? And I've already tasted these leaves and they're really, really, really good. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this one in this pot. I think this one here is gonna be my parsley, chives, dill, and basil. My basil is not ready to come out yet. I'm just trying to think how I wanna lay these out. I think I'm gonna do my parsley on the outside because it won't get as tall. I'll put my chives over here because they're already much taller. Let's get the chives in here first. Okay, we've got our parsley here. This is a curly leaf parsley. I'm gonna see if I can get this dug really deep. I just scooped up some volunteer dill that was in one of my raised beds. I just kind of scooped a chunk of it and just set that right there. So we're gonna call this bed done. I have 5 flat leaf parsleys in here. I have 6 curly leaf parsleys, some random dill. I don't know if this is gonna survive transplant, a bunch of chives that it needs a haircut. Then I'm gonna save this section right here for some basil when it's ready. But I can already tell that this is probably not going to be enough space, and I eventually will need to expand and have another one of these for these kind of like soft herbs. My cilantro is already in my beds and I'm definitely not transplanting those. Maybe next year they'll be in a pot instead of in one of the raised beds, but for now this is good. So let's go ahead and move over there to that. That pot is going to be more of our fall winter herbs, kind of our hardier herbs, our thyme and sage and things like that. I do have a huge rosemary plant and I'm not going to move that because that plant is like really big, and we'll just leave that there. It smells like sausage. The sage smells so good. You can definitely see the life difference between this plant and this plant. I think these are the same kinds of sage, and you can just see how spindly and sad this is looking. Last year when I was here, I thought I should transplant it, but I never did. And so I'm hoping it comes back to life in full force. But if not, that's okay. We've got this one here. This thyme has the weed fabric in it from over there. These roots are really small. So I have to say this is my favorite one. I think it's turned out beautiful. I have the thyme hanging off both sides of the pot there, and the 2 sages, the purple sage, the oregano, and then I'll put a pineapple sage in here somewhere. Now that I think about it, I probably should have pre-soaked this potting mix because it's pretty dry and there was a lot of probably coconut coir or peat moss in there. This is gonna take a lot of water to really moisten that. Note to self, next time, pre-moisten the soil. I thought about it, but I didn't do it, so oh well. I'm a little bit nervous about transplanting that dill because it was so young and fragile. I don't know how well it's gonna hold up, but we'll see. I think these turned out so cute. Now, where I have them, just so you can see the final placement, I have them here and right over there in the entrance to the garden. This might not be their final resting place, but for now, I'm gonna call it a night. I'm happy with where they are. If you guys want some fun updates and real-time updates, go follow me over on Instagram. You can watch little funny videos I make. I made a funny one today on potting up these herbs, but it's just Acre Homestead on Instagram. I hope you guys give growing herbs a try. It's honestly the easiest thing to grow, very low maintenance. It was one thing I could grow at my last house, and I'm excited to have them in a concise place so that making harvesting and preserving really easy. So subscribe if you want to see the evolution of this herb garden and you want to see how they grow and how I'm going to preserve everything. I hope you guys have a fantastic evening, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye guys.